Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you guys are having a good night. So, yeah, at a previous video that I did briefly in the Jeep, and long story short, we have get this out of here. We have a new console in the works, and a good one at that. So, let's first talk about let's first talk about out with the old. So today, Playmoji released their Polymega Remix. So, first off, what is going on with my screen capture? One second here. Let me see if this actually is showing the whole screen or not. Hopefully it is. Let us see. Yeah, it is being cut off. Okay, well, I'm not sure how to fix that, but let me see if I can at least make the screen close to the aspect ratio that you guys see. There we are. Cool. That works. I'll uh I'll finagle that later. Long story short though, they released their Polymega remix today. And so yeah, as you can see, it's showing the Polymega app on what looks like the Gen 1 ASUS ROG Ally. I actually had this handheld. It was a piece of shit. Software and hardware problems. I have the Xbox Ally X now, which is significantly better. Obviously, greatly derived from this, especially the shape of the shell, but that's neither here nor there. Well, two things that I've been able to go ahead and surmise since we've had our last discussion. Number one, obviously, it's still for sale. Keep in mind, I know of enough about what's happening behind the scenes here to make an educated guess that this thing has a very, very limited MOQ. That means that, or not limited MOQ, but a very limited uh, max amount of consoles that they can purchase or feel comfortable purchasing. The MOQ would be lower because it's likely through a different facility than made the original Polymega. That was what was giving them a lot of problems, actually, with the original Polymega system. So now this thing, just to recap, this thing can go ahead and basically be powered by other devices because it can't do any emulation locally to the system. So the system is essentially a hollow husk using the same shell that the original Polymega used with the removable modules here. And long story short, you connect it via USB, which this picture alone is disingenuous because there's no rear USB on this model. At least not that we know of. Although it's showing a USB here, so maybe they did alter the design. Who knows? Either way, it connects to a desktop PC or laptop or portable gaming device, which is interesting. They keep showing a Steam Deck instead of just Windows handhelds because they didn't say that it worked on Linux desktops or even Mac desktops. They only mentioned Windows and Intel Macs. So I'm wondering if this is even going to be factual. Polymega has a history of showing a bunch of things that, well, never actually come true. And I mean, who knows? So first off, it's still available, which means that there are limited inventory has not been blitzed through. And considering the response that we've gotten to this thing, it doesn't really surprise me. And considering, I'm not going to say a solid number, as I said last stream, but considering how few of these original consoles sold, which is ironic considering how often they're out of stock, you would have thought they would have sold, a lot, at least hundreds of thousands. No, they sold in the thousands mark. Think low. So no one seems to be coming over for this. Number two, we learned since then that the Polymega app, which they just emailed us about yesterday, and making it sound like it's this grand old thing, and we're gonna be able to hook up our old Polymegas, not just this thing, but the original Polymega unit that does its own emulation, plus this upgraded second model, which we have not even seen pictures of, likely because it's just the same thing, but still we haven't seen the picture of the motherboard or anything like that. Yeah, apparently the other Polymegas, the real Polymegas, won't be working on the Polymega app at launch or anywhere near launch. They don't even want to give us a time frame, and the way that they worded it made it sound like we shouldn't expect it to come anytime soon, which is kind of hilarious because, again, the people with the original system and the people who will be getting the version 2 of the system, who are only getting it because they had a pre-order already ready to go. Yeah, apparently we're just chopped liver to them. So only if you spend a measly $199 do apparently you have access to this Polymega app that will connect to a physical piece of hardware come May. This whole thing is just destined to be a piece of shit, by the way. I thoroughly bet you that this app is going to have all manner of problems, and this is about all I really want to talk about this. I just wanted to bring it up because right now, at least in my household, Playmaji and Polymega are household names. I want to move on to the star of the show, which is Plaion, or I'm sorry, Plaion Playas Neo Geo AES Plus. I want to forget about this shit sooner than later and really get used to this company's name and focusing on their product, which is actually made for people who aren't just seen as consumers, but these are customers, these are gamers. Because the people running this show are actual gamers and actually care. They're making a device that they want to see out in the wild for themselves. And I'm thoroughly convinced at this point that the guys behind Playmaji really just don't give two shits or a fuck about anything that they're doing. Because if these guys were actually playing their consoles, they would be just as frustrated as we are with the lack of functionality, especially just in the simple things that they've already promised on the box that was feasible and or by what they've promised already. So moving on, I know I talked about this in the Jeep, but I figured this would be a really good setup to do here. And we can kind of really go over what this system is. So first off, I figure let's check out the trailer. See this in a 3D setting. So, seeming as he's okay with his name being out there, as he commented on my last video, Julian, congratulations on your launch. And your product looks phenomenal. Okay, now that you've seen this uninterrupted, let me go ahead and show you some things that I feel are worth noting. So obviously these are 3D mockups, but still, um, let's just discuss. So first thing I've noticed, it's literally the original shell, right? So you do have the stock 15 pin controller ports. You have the volume slider. You have the headphone jack, and you have the memory card slot. This is tit for tat, exactly what you would have gotten from the original shell. Let me put the volume down here. Julian has already confirmed to me, and then again, this is all public stuff, but I figured we can talk about the stream stuff now. Before, I didn't want to talk about a lot of the stuff that was going on in Tuna's stream because I didn't want to interrupt it, and I was trying to point people there, hence my link to his stream because it was still going on at the time. Um, Now that that's over, I feel like we can start talking about what Julian and his boss were talking about in the stream. And first off, the components are going to be very true to the original pieces of hardware. So this is not going to be some cheap, knockoff, feels like it's made, for 99 cents, from China, sort of hollow, melted down plastic crap. It's actually going to be heavy and of the original feel and materials. Based on what they are talking about, it does feel like maybe the joysticks might have been improved a bit, but apparently it's going to be very close to the originals in terms of fit and finish. The games that you see here, the cases, are literally modeled after the original case. And the art on the label is going to be, obviously true to what was there originally as well, which is great. So you will not feel like you have some cheap, poor man's copy of a Neo Geo, and you obviously at that point won't feel like you need to go out and buy an original. Now, here in the trailer, it mentions that it's compatible with original Neo Geo cartridges. This is because both the cartridges and the system are real Neo Geo hardware. And what I mean by that is the reason why they're working from one to another is that the system is not operating through emulation. The system is not operating through FPGA or anything like that. They are using original style chips, a bit modernized, but it's the same ASCI chips. It's just running it the way that they would have done it back then. And the games are built in the same way that the games would have been built back then. So these games, some of which go for tens of thousands of dollars because of their rarity, um, they're now available here for you to purchase for a very reasonable price. And you don't have to worry about it. That also means that if there is a game that eventually does not come out, so let's just say, I don't know, Last Blade 2 doesn't come out. I have no idea what's coming out in the future or not. I'm just guessing here. But if The Last Blade 2 does not come out, you can get an original copy of Last Blade 2 and it'll work. And to another extent, you can get a Terra Onion Neo SD or Neo SD Pro and it'll work on this because it is a genuine Neo Geo, which is phenomenal. I really do appreciate that. I think that's way more than we've ever gotten from a retro piece of hardware that is brought out to the masses. One last thing I want to show here on this video, because you do not see pictures of this thing from the back on the website, and it's blurry. I can't make this any clearer than it is already here, but this seems to be power, HDMI, and your AV out. So this thing does do digital and analog out. So you can run this thing on a CRT or you can run this thing on your TV or your monitor. And obviously you can stream this thing. Now, because it's blurry, it's hard to tell, but this looks like USB-C. I have no confirmation of that at this point, but it looks like that based on the length of the port. Who knows? That's about 1/3 the width of an HDMI. That seems about right. The port reminds me of like a Sega Genesis Model 2 or Sega Saturn. So that seems to be a single circular port. They didn't go for like, RCA plugs or S-Video or anything like that. It looks like a proprietary plug. So I would assume that this system is going to come with some form of multi-analog out cable. I don't know what the standards are going to be, but anyway, you have two different colors, as you can see. You have the original black and gold, and then you have the new 35th anniversary edition, which is white and gold. Now, this is the one that I got, and just because, I mean, if you guys have seen my setup, which obviously I've shown you before, my entire setup is white. My PC is white, my Saturn is white, my PS2 is white, my Xbox is white, everything's white. So I had to go with the white one. But let's just compare the different bundles that you can get. So you can get the standard issue American AES Plus, and this comes with a wired joystick. Now this is kind of interesting because if you go to the hardware here and you look at their arcade sticks, they only seem to, let me see here. Oh, I think it's at their shop. Yeah. There we go. Okay. How interesting. Okay. I was looking on this today and it seemed like it was a different layout. So that's interesting. Yeah, okay. So that's what I thought. So if you want to buy an arcade stick on its own, apparently they only sell the wireless ones in either black or white, which is weird because like I said, if you get the base console, it comes wired. So Julian, and I don't know his name, his username was Bencha, but Julian's boss, if you guys are watching, if I can humbly suggest, you guys offer a slightly cheaper edition that offers this wired joystick as well. I think that that would be good because if you buy this base model and you have a wired one and you want a player two, it's going to be kind of weird to have a wired and a wireless. I mean, obviously this plays the original joysticks and more than likely someone has access to that, but still, if you want two brand new joysticks that are wired, you should be able to have access to that. So I think that should be for sale. As we already discussed and you guys thought was a good idea, I do think you should have a white gamepad. They're re-releasing the Neo Geo CD style gamepad here, and quality looks to be, and based on what they were talking about in Retro Tuna's stream, it's going to be phenomenal. So that's great, but it would be nice as someone who purchased a white one to have a white one. Just my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. But the star in the show in a room, which is not even the one that I went for again, because I went with the white one, and I'll go back to that. But the star of the show here is this Ultimate Edition. The Ultimate Edition, there we go. The Ultimate Edition comes with the console. I think that is the version of the console with a wired. Yeah, it is. So you get a version of the console with a wired joystick, a second joystick which is wireless because they don't sell a wired joystick on its own, a wireless gamepad, the CD style pad, a memory card, and every single initial game. Now, the reason why this is the greatest deal is because if you see the price, okay, and again, this layout has been changed, so this is a little annoying. Why? Guys are killing me. Okay, so if you see here, the games are $89.99 a piece. Okay, there's 10 games. I mean, look, guys, I'm a graphic designer, but even I'm good enough to understand that that means that's $900 worth of games, which means that if you get the ultimate pack, if we can ever find it ever again, um, you get a console, a memory card, a gamepad, and an extra wireless joystick for $100. That's just freaking awesome. So this is definitely the best deal. However, this is not limited, and this is not limited. The white one, anything that you see that it's white, the anniversary collection is going to be limited. So the memory cards are going to have permanent high score saves, which the original did not have. Now, I'm assuming, I need to ask this, but I'm assuming that this also works on the original Neo Geo hardware. I don't know if it gives you that functionality though, but this is good for a multitude of reasons. Number one, you get that permanent high score ability to save your high scores. I don't know if anyone is out there and loves Neo Geo like I do, but um, I'm hoping the people who watch my stream would. But basically, like, there's many times that me and my wife will be playing a game and we compete on certain games for high score, primarily League Bowling, because we both really love that game. And we really wish that we could keep our high scores. And we end up taking pictures with our cell phone on the screen so that we can remember who had the highest bowling score. And then we can compare that to previous runs. This would be really nice to have. Second, these memory cards are all like dying essentially and are already dead. And there's a complicated way to go ahead and fix these things on original hardware. But the fact that we're getting a memory card replacement is just phenomenal. So cheers to them for not just omitting things like this, which would be problematic and difficult to recreate, and instead actually doing the hard work and recreating it. And if you know anything about cost of memory cards that have been repaired and replaced, they're obviously a lot more expensive than $35. So this is just a good deal all around. The reason why you're seeing a white one, by the way, you can get one in white as well. Going back to the white console, just because I feel like this needs some time in the sun here, you do get a memory card with this console. Somewhere they show it. There it is. And you get a white wireless controller. So as the black one had a wired controller, this obviously comes with the wireless pad because there is no wired version of the white pad. But this is what's really cool to me. You get a limited edition white shelled Metal Slug, which kind of sent me over the top. This is the only one that includes, of the two initial bundles, this is the only one that includes a single game like this. You don't get Metal Slug with the original copy. And then you also get a white case, which is just, I don't know, man. That's just really cool. I'm so excited about this. Now, this is all well and good, and you guys can go through the description here. You know, you can play on a CRT, there's no emulation, you can play on low latency HDMI, you have dip switches for language selection, overclocking, so maybe no slowdown. We'll see. Different display modes, blah, 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 blah. This is everything that's included here on this console. You're literally getting an Neo Geo. It's not a compromise. And it's great. But the thing that I want to talk about next, which I find exciting, is the games. So this is not like a Unico thing where, you know, you get some poorly emulated junk of the wrong proportions and the few games that are on the system is all you're ever going to get. these games are going to keep coming out. They've made it abundantly clear in RetroTuna's live chat that this is going to be an ongoing platform. This is not like a pump and dump scheme like this thing was. This thing only recently came back. By the way, this was gone for months, and maybe they shouldn't have brought it back, especially now that this thing's out. Um, but basically, we are going to get not only more original games, but there seems to be uh, the possibility maybe that we'll start getting other games as well because the chipset is there. They're able to make these games for $90 and make money after cost of the physical supply plus the license costs that I'm sure they're paying for these games. So we probably will be seeing third-party indie games on this thing coming out. That's what's exciting because we can have a unified, and this is potentially, but I feel like this could happen. We could have a unified storefront here where you can go to I have to get used to saying this because they're going to be my freaking favorite company going on forward. Plaion Replay. We can go on Plaion Replay's website and come here as like a central hub for anything Neo Geo old and new. And right now, you know, being a Neo Geo fan, it's hard because even with these indie games, they're asking 350, 400, 500, $600 sometimes for these cartridges. And yeah, we don't have to worry about that anymore. The games will be cheaper because they obviously have access to um, I don't know, patents or whatever technology from SNK, clearly, because they're one-to-one recreating everything. I'm assuming SNK helped them. These are assumptions here. Bob's your uncle on this. I have no clue. But this is not like hacked together stuff. This is a real system, so they would have to have proprietary information, I'm assuming, to do this. So the game boards should be one-to-one as well, and that's probably why they're able to make them cheaper. They're not jerry-rigging something together with more expensive modern-day hardware. It'll just be really cool. Um, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can get. I think there are some pretty obvious candidates of SNK originals that we're going to get down the road. I mean, I would bet anything that we're going to get most, if not all, the King of Fighters. Um, Samurai Showdown, we have 5 here. I'm sure we'll get more of those. Last Blade would definitely be ones that we're probably going to see. Windjammers. I would look on storefronts like Steam as a clue as to what we're going to get because those are games that are openly available already with modern day licenses. So maybe Nom, all the Metal Slugs, Neo Drift Out, because Visco seems to be very happy about giving their license to anybody and anything, and that includes even Polymega, because Polymega has their game compilations, and you can find Visco games like Captain Tomaday, as seen here, or Neo Drift Out, as seen here, on their console. So honestly, I would be really shocked and surprised if we didn't get that. There's other Neo Geo games here in these compilations as well. So I think that's pretty much a given. And then, like I said, Steam, the games that you see there would be a given. And then you add into that the um, indie games that are out there. that could be sold through this store. And I really, it's probably going to happen if I had to guess, just because, I mean, it just makes sense. I feel like that just makes sense to me. Um, and just based on how they're talking, this is a long-standing platform. We're going to be getting probably more releases based on how they're talking. It sounds like we're going to get more releases before this thing releases in November. So this won't even be it. And already, I mean, some of these games are on Obtainium. So it's going to be great. The reason why I'm happy personally is just because it's not emulation like this crap or this crap. This is one-to-one recreation of the hardware with just some quality of life upgrades. And they're making SNK's Neo Geo like a platform that feels alive again. We're actually going to be, I mean, maybe we'll get more releases now. Think about it. The cartridges are this cheap. This will incentivize even more, not just the current indie games that are out there or the ones that just recently came out. We'll probably be getting more games coming out ported to Neo Geo. I could see games like Eartheon ported to this. I mean, why not? I think there's a lot of push here, and it's just good, really good shit. So I want to thank you guys. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Julian's boss, whom I don't know his name too. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. I'm so very happy. Like genuinely. Can't put that into words. The fact that we have an affordable but quality recreation of the Neo Geo back, and the platform won't feel dead anymore, and it'll feel alive. We're getting away from unobtainium pricing on video games, and we can actually properly enjoy this without it being some cheap Chinese handheld or some cheap Chinese mini cabinet. Is just great. So anytime that we get more news about this, I'm going to be sharing this because, like I said, I'm done with Polymega. So Polymega is gone. I'm so frustrated. I've been dealing with them for 8 years. 8 years is a long time to be in an abusive relationship. So I feel like these guys better deserve my time and my money, and I feel like this product's going to be 1,000 times better. Again, I was having conversations too with them today, and it built my confidence like way more than I'm even letting on here. These guys really know what they're doing. So give it a look if this is something that you're interested in. Um, Julian has a really good reputation. This is not his first rodeo when working on retro games and hardware and such. So um, I trust him and his team 100%. And this is not the only product that his company's released, by the way. So you're good there. But yeah, honestly, this is just really good shit. So I'm going to put this, if I can. Well, I guess I can't because here, let me see. I try to put the link in a chat for you guys. Technical difficulties. Here we are. So if you go to playonreplay.us, you will find their store there. One suggestion, guys, please go ahead and work on your SEO, your search engine optimization, because when you do Neo Geo AES Plus, you guys are like nowhere to be seen. And if it wasn't for other news articles mentioning you with links to your store, it would be not very easy to find you. I understand that this is just brand new, but something to work on, guys. But otherwise, I will be talking about each and every single upgrade to this hardware. I I really hope, because they seem to be taking my suggestions pretty seriously. I really hope that we get the white gamepad. I really hope that we get a wired controller. Hopefully, the Retro Tuna and his watchers and his viewers were talking about which games that they wanted and which games they felt were the most popular, even if it's not the ones that they wanted. So we're talking about like which one's the most popular. King of Fighters. Mine, my personal is 99. King of Fighters 99 is my favorite. I think it has the best backgrounds. But we all kind of relented despite the fact that none of us agreed that 98 was probably the most popular, although there were some people in chat who thought 95 was best and 97 was best, and some of the people liked the later ones like 2000 or 2001 or 2002. So if your favorite one is 2002, lucky you, because you have 2002 on launch day. But yeah, I'm. They seem to be really listening. We were going over other games like I was talking about before, Neo Bomberman, Panic Bomber, Viewpoint, Waku Waku 7. That was one thing that I know I can talk about. In the chat, Julian's boss in Retro Tuno was mentioning that um, last year they talked to Sunsoft. So that would imply Waku Waku 7 and Galaxy Fight, which is great because both those games are phenomenal. So this is not the end. These 10 games that you see here, this is not all that we're going to get. This is just the beginning. If you want a platform that you can safely back and have for many, many, many years and many, many, many more releases, both old and new, this is going to be great. And this is going to be a heck of a lot better than a burned CDR of 80% games that you could give a flying rat's ass about just to get one game that you actually want, just to put it in your Polymega, have it go onto the system memory and never touch again. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy here, but this might be a better experience. Not only having a physical cart and being able to use a physical cart and your original games as well, but the ability to play on a proper CRT television. It's just tops. This is something that Polymega has always, always, always suffered on, in my humble opinion. I can't understand how you release a console like this that plays classic games and you can't hook it up to original analog hardware. So this is what happens when you actually have a team that is comprised of people who are actual gamers and who actually care about this console. I think these guys would be happy if this was even a mediocre success and it did the system proud. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be part of gaming history. And, we have never had a, a genuine, true, non emulation based re release of original hardware before. This is genuinely a first. And it's not of a Game Boy or something that they made like a billion of. This is actually of a console that we need to have reproduced because, like I was saying, the pricing is just ridiculous and the hardware is starting to age. Now we can get some new ones. So, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to have this video uploaded hopefully as soon as possible as a normal video for you guys to catch up on watch tomorrow, especially for my friends across the pond. I know that you guys are sleeping right now, so check it out tomorrow. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll